You know that amazing feeling of getting a new giant box of toys? Because I've got the massive Grand Cathay Battalion box and the Shugengan Lord box to lead this 1000 points of Cathay. Hey yo everyone, my name is Siga and it's a brand new week. Now, my goal is to build a brand new 1000 point army for Warhammer the Old World. And in this video, I'm going to be covering the unboxing, the building, and reviewing the sculpts themselves. Just a quick heads up, we're going to be focusing entirely on the models themselves, how they look and how they build, since the game's rules are always changing. So the big question is, how good do these two boxes look together in starting a Grand Cathay army? We're going to be unboxing and building both to find out, and in the end of the video, you'll know my thoughts, surprises I discovered, whether or not it's a fun or frustrating build, and finally the verdict of if it's a good way to spend your hobby dollars. Alright, we're starting with the heart of the army, the Grand Cathay Battalion box. Now I have to give you a bit of a heads up, because the box actually has gotten two unboxings. First was that inspection when the parcel arrives, and the second was the real one when I could finally sit down to work on it. Now, let me tell you about the first one, because my heart sank the moment the box came in. You can immediately tell that the courier had used the parcel as a punching bag, and this one looked like it had gone a few rounds in the ring. I opened it up hoping that the damage was just superficial, but no, a few of those hits landed clean through, and my stomach dropped seeing the actual Cathay box. I quickly opened it with my mind racing. Please let the sprues be okay. And first thing I saw was the instruction booklet, and the water slides were a bit crumpled and some torn with the impacts. But then I moved on to the sprues, holding my breath and hoping that there was no damage, and thankfully no major breaks. However, some of the models, like the delicate tassels of the cavalry, were knocked clean off for some of them. It's just a frustrating way to start the project that I was really excited to get on, since this was a gift, and all in all, it was not a good time to unbox. Now, moving on to unboxing 2, let's check out how many sprues actually come with the box. According to the Grand Cathay instruction booklet, the Jade Warriors come with 9 sprues, the Jade Lancers come with 6 sprues, and the Fire Rain, or the Cathayan Grand Cannon, comes with 2 sprues respectively, amounting to 19 sprues in total. So, let's move on to the building. First up, the Jade Warriors. Alright, time to dive into the heart of the project, turning these 9 sprues into a real army. And to stop myself from getting completely overwhelmed, I'm splitting them up. I'm going to focus on 10 Jade Warriors at a time. It makes the whole process so much more manageable. First, I'm breaking out my trusty hobby nippers. I'm using my steady hand. There's something so satisfying about that first snap as you free a part from the sprue. I always start with the bodies. They're the easiest to identify, and it feels like you're making solid progress right away. A quick tip that I absolutely swear by for keeping all these tiny bits organized is I use these cheap medicine organizers. The little compartments are perfect for separating arms, the heads, and weapons. I just label them with a masking tape so future me doesn't have a meltdown trying to figure out what is what. Now for the real puzzle, the arms. I'm building these guys with a full command for each unit, a standard bearer and a musician to lead the rank and file. I'm doing 2 squads of 10 with sword and shield and another 10 with halberds to give them some battle line variety. The assembly itself was pretty straightforward. The shields fit nicely into this little divot on the arm, which is a lifesaver, but I made one key decision. I'm leaving the heads off for now. They do sink into the collar portion of the model, and I just know they're going to be an absolute nightmare to paint once I actually get on that. It's a small step now that I'm hoping will save me a huge headache later. So here's the army so far, a legion of headless warriors, and you know what? I am genuinely impressed by these sculpts. The details are incredible, though. All these intricate scales, the detail on the shields. I am groaning a little. Some of these poses, especially the halberdiers clutching their weapons a little too closely to their chests, are creating these beautifully detailed but totally inaccessible little areas for my paintbrush. It's going to be a real test of patience and brush control when I actually get to painting these guys. Alright, next up we have the Jade Lancers, and I'll be honest, these guys threw me off for a loop at first because there are a lot of parts. I found myself a little confused trying to figure out what goes where. Thankfully, the models had little letters labeling which part belonged to which model, which was a total lifesaver. Each horse is made out of around 6 parts and each rider is around 5. I started with the horses and the main bodies were pretty straightforward. They came together pretty nicely. But then I hit a wall. The reins, I couldn't really visualize how they were supposed to connect. I fiddled with them a bit, feeling that familiar flicker of hobby frustration. So I swallowed my pride and I did what we all should do more often, which was look at the instructions. And what a revelation. It turns out that the reins are multi-part assemblies. Some of them connect to the horse's face directly and into the shield arm. However, other times they do have an extra bit of separation between them. Once I saw the diagram and I glued it all in place, it was pretty satisfying. And it was these moments that I find most rewarding in this hobby. And you know what? The struggle was pretty worth it. I've ended up loving these guys. I'm not a huge cavalry guy, but these sculpts are just phenomenal. They are so ornate and the musician, he's the star of the unit. The dynamic pose with the drumsticks and the 2 drums mounted on the horse is pretty cool. This unit has completely won me over. Okay, I'll admit, this one had me scratching my head. I knew from the start I wanted one of each variant, which was the Cathay Grand Cannon and the Rocket Battery. But figuring out how to get there from the sprues was a genuine puzzle. This was the first time I truly had to surrender and rely completely on the instruction manual. I started carefully, freeing the cannon and the rocket battery by themselves before I looked at the crew. The separation for the big pieces was actually pretty simple, but I instantly had a wave of regret. I really wish I had magnetized these instead of using plastic cement. It honestly locked me out of the option of swapping between either both cannons or both batteries. A lesson learned for the next time, I guess. Then I moved on to the crew. The ogre members were just fantastic. So much character in this sculpt. I was particularly obsessed with their detailed backpacks. So of course I made sure to give both of them one. The human crew was pretty straightforward. Even the ones carrying the bulky objects like this gunpowder cart, I'm assuming they're hauling. All in all, the build didn't take too long for the crew and the final looks incredibly cool. I have to say I'm a huge fan of the Grand Cannon variant. There's just something about it that's so imposing compared to the more intricate rocket battery. The crew were similar. They have little nice variations, mostly in the equipment they're carrying. After the long march of infantry and the puzzle of the cavalry, the building of the artillery felt really satisfying and a distinct phase of the project. It's a perfect way to top off this box, and it really gives that hobby high-end satisfaction that I enjoy so much in this hobby. But we're not done yet. Next up is building the Shugengan Lord on Spirit Longma. So building the Spirit Longma itself was an absolute joy. After the slight confusion on the Jade Lancers, this felt refreshingly straightforward. The part separation was logical, and it went together like a dream. It was a smooth, almost meditative build, and I was left thinking, wow, they really engineered this kit perfectly. The rider, the Shugengan Lord himself, oh boy, that was the opposite. The momentum I had came to a screeching halt. The rider was frankly a puzzle. Like, the torso alone is in 5 pieces, the legs were in 3, the head was in 2, and the arms were also separate from the pauldrons and the weapons. It felt unnecessarily complex, especially when you compare it to the elegant design of the Longma. I won't lie, I was hit with a serious wave of build fatigue right here. After the entire battalion box, this one figure felt like it demanded the same amount of focus and overall effort again. But then I glued the final pieces together and all the frustration melted away. It's one hell of a centerpiece model. The final result was utterly spectacular. The Longma looks so majestic and powerful, and the Shugengan Lord posed with a halberd and pistol has his incredibly interesting, unique silhouette. And all in all, the struggle was worth it. This model is the centerpiece of my entire 1000 point Cathay army. Well, there you have it. From a battered cardboard box to a complete 1000 point Grand Cathay army, standing proud on my desk. Looking back at this entire build, it's been a roller coaster. It started with a gut punch of an unboxing, fearing the worst for these beautiful models. Then came the meditative, almost therapeutic process of building rank upon rank of Jade Warriors. We battled through the confusing reigns of the Lancers and then hit a wall with the incredibly complex Shugengan Lord rider. But through all of that, the final feeling isn't frustration, it's sheer pride. So let's get to the big question. Are these army boxes for Cathay worth your time and money? For the Grand Battalion box, this is the workhorse. It's got incredible value and gives you a solid core to the army. And yes, building 30 plus infantry, 10 cavalry, and then another 10 models for the artillery, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. But the sculpts are honestly so rich, it's in comparison to the older models you'd see in Old World, it's so rich with detail that it never felt like a chore, besides a few complications. And to me, it's an A-tier foundation that every Grand Cathay general will need. And for the Shugengan Lord, this is the leader of the army. Despite the fiddly rider, the model is undeniably an S tier in terms of sculpting. It's quite the masterpiece that commands attention to the entirety of the army. And I think it's an absolute must-have when you pick up the Grand Battalion box. Because together, the boxes are pure hobby magic. They are a perfect complement to each other, giving you both a powerful body and a majestic leader for the force. This project reminded me of why I love this hobby, the minor frustrations, the little victories, and the incredible moment when you step back and see the whole army that you've built with your own hands. This army is going to be primed and going to be ready for painting. I'll be trying to apply the same system I used for my Skaven, but that's a challenge for another day. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this build. Let me know in the comments what you think of the Grand Cathay army and what you think I should get into next. But that's it for now. My name is Jessica and I talk about miniatures every day.